cool intro sound.
Alright guys, how's it going? AlphaYGO back at it again. So I apologize I've been away from the channel. It has been a while guys, I'm sorry. I've missed y'all. I've been pretty busy with life, and I've been working on a few other side projects for this channel, and it's been taking up a lot of my time, and I haven't even been able to reach out for the comments lately, so I apologize for that. But thank you so much for sticking by. Like, when I saw that people were still tuning in and commenting even though I was gone, it really meant a lot to me, so thank you. But without further ado, I do want to discuss today's profile, which happens to be DDD Orcust. Now DDD Orcust is something a lot of people have been re-requesting, but then especially after the ban list, when Mermaid got hit, and they're like, how do you still play this deck after the ban list hit? And I was like, you can't. And then a little while after, I kind of realized, oh wait, you still can play DD Orcust just fine actually. And I feel a bit stupid for not thinking of this sooner, but it is pretty much the way to go for the list at the moment, in my personal opinion. So of course, the moment this epiphany arose in my head, your boy had to put the list together and had to showcase it off for you guys. The list isn't perfect, but the point of this is to kind of showcase off the strategy of what I'm trying to talk about. So I'm really excited to showcase it off to you guys. And without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So just like any other typical DD profile, we always have to start off with the bad boy, the Swirl Slime, of course. One of the best cards in the deck, in my opinion, followed up by the sidekick of triple Necro Slime. We're not running Vice Typhon in this list and opting for the third Necro Slime, because as you know from my usual profiles, I usually opt for the 2 Necro Slime and 1 Vice Typhon, or just 3 Necro Slime, depending on the strategy that we're trying to go for. And in this list, we're trying to pump out small Genghis more often, aka we kind of need Necro Slime more than Vice Typhon, because Vice Typhon is made for High King Genghis, which we don't really necessarily need for these combos in this list. So 3 Necro Slime, and then of course triple Lamia, because Lamia is awesome. The actual best starter in the deck, which is Kepler, basically nets us so much value. Crazy. Following that, we have double Copernicus, kind of as another normal summon / another starter for our main combos. And of course, moving on, we have triple Ragnarok. Ragnarok is extremely powerful in my opinion. And following that, we have triple Thomas, and Thomas is actually phenomenal in this deck, as you guys know, because of the fact it enables our Coach King Trainer play. Yes, we still do run the Pendulum / Coach King Trainer play in this list, because it is necessary for all those combo pieces to accumulate together for us to combo off. That's just the way this deck has to run, in my opinion, at the moment, until we get more support. And of course, speaking of the Pendulum engine, we have triple Curtain Raiser. Curtain Raiser is just a great starter. Following that, we have my personal favorite Mythical Beast package of 3 Cerberus and 2 Jackal King. This is just really great because, as I've discussed before in other videos, this is amazing follow-up play for this deck, where on the next turn you can pump out a Master Cerberus, which is really, really good. And just the nature of how these cards work, it just synergizes with the deck really well, especially because we have access to another level 8 in case we need that extra monster for more rank 8 plays. So it's all around very phenomenal. Following that, we have a small Orcust engine of 1 of each, basically. So 1 Harpor, 1 Nightmare, and 1 Symbol Skeleton. You can probably run more if you really wanted to, but I wouldn't, because it's like all you really need is this. In fact, I find myself not even needing the Nightmare half the time, but I only run Nightmare because it kind of helps with the loop of the Orcust package to be cycled through with the Galateas and the Longirsus, right? So that's why I'm running these at minimum, but you can probably either cut the Nightmare or even just add more copies of these cards if you really, really want it, but I would probably just leave it at this. Try it for yourselves and see where it goes. And of course, we have the Orchestrator Babel. Babel is obviously one of the win cons of the going first board of Orcust. And obviously, with the release of certain cards like Masquerada, people are opting to get into that Babel early on, because you're basically playing on your opponent's turn, which is really powerful. But of course, moving on with the rest of the spells, we have Dark Contract with the Gate, the Rhoda of the deck for our DD engine. So obviously very fantastic. We also run the 1 Swamp King because it's basically a combo piece. It's not the best combo piece because it's not a monster itself, but it still enables us to go into our fusions, which is really important. Triple Allure of Darkness. Allure of Darkness is obviously very powerful in a deck that's basically all dark monsters. The only one that isn't is probably like Mythical Beast Cerberus, so like we can go off. A single 1-for-1 because it gets us into Kepler and any other level 1 that we really need. A Foolish Burial because it enables everything in our deck. And of course, the Orcust Crescendo for our back row negate. And with that being the main deck, let's move on to the extra deck. Starting off the list, of course, we have to start off with our Electromite. I ended up getting myself somehow an OCG one, which is really, really cool. It looks really snazzy. I apologize that some of these cards are in different sleeves. I kind of pulled them out from different decks, so I apologize for that. But following that, we of course have the two Orcust Link monsters, which are Galatea and Longirsu. In my opinion, you don't really need to run more counts than these. I sometimes miss a second Galatea, but the Longirsu just kind of accommodates for that. But you do run the Longirsu for that added utility, because there are times when you can end on in certain situations with Babel, and it's really powerful because you can spin back your opponent's extra deck monster. So I kind of like it for that utility, but so running 1-1 is nice. The extra deck space is really tight in this deck, as you can imagine, so we had to cut corners somewhere. Following that, we have Zephyr Metatron. Of course, there's that new 10E Link monster, I believe, that's just 3 arrows down, which is also pretty good, but I just go Zephyr Metatron because it does the same thing, right? And following that, we of course have our more Orcust-oriented plays with the Boral Sword, the IP Masquerena, and the One Nightmare Unicorn. The reason we run this is because we're easily able to make a Masquerena on our turn. You know, we'll have like a bunch of Orcust set up in our grave with a Babel, be able to summon that ding, send a card, link into a unicorn, spin another card. In our following turn, we have a bunch of recursion to just go into a Boral Sword for OTK. I never traditionally opted for Boral Sword in this deck because you usually end on the board of a lot of big monsters. But one of the strengths of Orcust is whether your board is broken or not, you're going to recur everything back and OTK with Boral Sword. So that's one of the plus sides of running this card, so I'm opting it in this list. But I will show 3 different alternatives to these 3 cards because I know this isn't for everyone. Because if you don't own Masquerena, which is kind of a pricey card at the moment, in my opinion, there's no point in running Unicorn unless you have Masquerena. So afterwards, we'll discuss that. But moving on, we of course have Genghis. This is the only fusions we run in the deck because it enables us easily into our next play. And unfortunately, I don't have a copy of the card, but this is Beatrice, the BA monster, to be specific. So we can easily access this with 2 slimes in our hand, making double Genghis going to Beatrice. Beatrice will dump our Orcust combo. So following that, we of course have Coach King Trainer, which gets us a bunch of draws. Absolutely fantastic. Dingirsu for Orcust shenanigans, and our Hope Harbinger because our Ragnarok still enable us a good rank 8 play, and Hope Harbinger is a good rank 8. And of course, then we have 2 synchros, which is Burl Savage and Gust King Alexander. Alexander I kept in because the combo sequences can still occur where we end on like Hope Harbinger, Burl Savage, and whatnot. And as you've probably seen by my list, you can tell the cards that I'm missing from our previous list. Instead of running these 3, you still can opt to run these 3 because what happens is this is more so if you dedicate yourself to the Orcust line, which is what this deck's about. But this still enables you to stick with our previous strategy, so you can interchange these as much as you like, but of course these 2 go hand in hand. You want to put these 2 together at the same time, and same with this. So if you really want to, you can remove these 2 and put in these 2, for example. It's all up to personal preference of how you want to play the deck, but if you have access to these cards, try it out, see what you like. So to kind of end this video off, I want to showcase what the deck is supposed to try to do with this new setup, and of course you've seen me do this part a million times, so let's just jump right into it, and I'm just gonna speed along. So we're gonna activate Cerberus, obviously pop our Cerberus, get ourselves a Jackal King. Jackal King will then scale itself, popping itself. Summon that Cerberus. Then we'll normal summon our Kepler, getting ourselves a Dark Contract. We can obviously then activate it, getting us a search, giving us access to Thomas, and then we'll link these 2 off into our Electromite. Electromite will then send us Ragnarok to our extra deck. We can then scale our Thomas, use Thomas's effect to give us back our Kepler. Electromite will pop our Thomas, giving ourselves back a Jackal King, and then of course we can then draw one. But now we have 4 cards in our hand plus our 2 scales that we will immediately activate. And keep in mind that our end goal is to end on our different combo pieces. So hopefully you started off with a couple, but we're then gonna pen summon out our Thomas and our Ragnarok. Of course we can only summon DD monsters, so that's why we're not summoning the Cerberus. But then Thomas will then activate its effect to pop our Kepler to special out our second Ragnarok. Then we can overlay everyone into our Coach King Trainer. And then Coach King Trainer will then allow us to detach 1 at a time to draw 1 at a time as well. So we'll then have these many cards in our hand. And of course, from this point on, we have a lot of cool options. So depending on what you have in your hand, you could have 2 slimes. And something cool I noticed is that if you use both slimes right now and make yourselves a Genghis, you can actually go into a Curious right here, like the Light Sword Link, dump your Orcust combo that way. But I feel like the Beatrice route is a little more smooth, so that's why I opted for that. But you can definitely go the Curious route, because that's still a cool way to go about it. But the reason I like the Beatrice route doesn't mean we have to link away our Genghis early on. So what I mean by that is, before we fusion summon him out. So we'll use both. Go into our many arrows pointing down, and then we can use both to summon Genghis. Obviously, use Necro Slime plus something like Thomas for second Genghis, triggering the first Genghis, allowing us to summon out Ragnarok, triggering its effect to summon out the second Ragnarok. Then from this point on, we of course have Beatrice, and we of course have our rank 8 play. And from this point on, you guys probably know how the Orcust line goes, but what I'm going to showcase is off with when you have 3 cards in hand, because when I showcase what you have with 3 cards in hand, you'll be able to kind of figure out what you can do from this point, right? So we're just going to rewind just a bit. So now let's imagine we have like the full setup, just because we're kind of practicing as if we had the extra combo piece in our hand. It doesn't really matter too much that we have an extra combo piece in our hand, to be honest, but I'm just showcasing off to you guys for the sake of argument. I apologize for this light that's shining through. I don't know how that's happening. I've closed all the lights behind me. But anyways, okay, let's not get distracted here. So what we're going to do is just link these 2 guys off into our Zephyr Metaltron. We'll use both slimes to go into Genghis number 1, and then of course we'll use Swirl Slime's effect to banish itself, especially out the Lamia. I prefer it all the way over to the end. And of course this will trigger Genghis, allowing us to summon Ragnarok number 1, and upon his summon we'll summon out Ragnarok number 2. And then from this point on, we can actually make our rank 8 right away. I prefer right here in the middle because it allows us for some cool plays later on. And then from this point on, we can of course use Necro Slime plus our Thomas to go into our second Genghis. And then Genghis plus Genghis equals Beatrice, Beatrice, detach 1, 2, then send us our Orcust combo. The way you do this can be done in so many different ways, but I'll just show you in case any variants. I'll send Nightmare, I'll banish it. Send a Hardpour, I'll banish it. Again, summon a simple skeleton, symbol plus Lamia equals like Galatea, for example. And there's so many different ways that we can go about this right now. It's crazy because right now what we can do is Galatea obviously shuffle back. Let's say we shuffle back Nightmare to set ourselves a Babel. Obviously we'll just activate right away, it doesn't matter. Or it can be a Crescendo, but I'm just showcasing Babel off in this situation. And then we have so many resources because we still have a symbol skeleton recursion, but what you can do is something like make Dingirsu here, link off the Beatrice and the Dingirsu for our Masquerena. So then on your opponent's turn, you use symbol skeleton to banish yourself, summon Ding, send 1 card, link Masquerena plus the Ding into a Unicorn, pitch one of our many cards, spin another card, and then we can just go off like that. So another cool option you can do is something like make Dingirsu, then link off, sorry everything's messy, link off the Beatrice and the Dingirsu into a long Girsu, because with long Girsu here pointing to the enemy's extra deck zone, with Babel you can basically spin them off whenever you like. And of course that requires you to have 2 Orcust monsters or 2 Dark Machines in your banish zone, but of course on your opponent's turn you'll be banishing stuff like Symbol Skeleton to summon a Dingirsu to send, and of course then you have long Girsu live to spin back some more. So there's so many different options you can do with the Orcust combo and making your end board however you like it, but this is just a small tidbit of how it kind of works, how you want to access your Beatrice. And of course if you run Curious, which is a different route, it still enables this combo, which is really, really cool. So I'll try to give you a little show of how that's supposed to work. And it's really good because in these combos, we haven't used our Lamia summon for next turn. We have our Jackal King to summon out a Cerberus under obviously an arrow. And we have basically all the means for a Boral Sword and all that stuff, right? So that's basically how the deck works. But with that said, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry that it got a little convoluted in the combo portion back there, but hopefully the message I was trying to get across was being sent. I'm not an expert on Orcust, unfortunately, but I guess I found a way to bridge the gap between Orcust and DDD, which is pretty cool. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, because it really helps me out, and I'll catch you guys later.